The content library is where you upload, create, and store all the content you manage for your players. In this video, we'll review the various components of the content library, and we'll talk about some best practices. Each group and subgroup level in your network features its own content library. The upper levels are deemed to be global, meaning content stored in those levels can be shared with other levels. The network tree can have many levels. However, you will always find the players at the lowest level in the network tree. The content stored in the lower levels is deemed to be local. This content can only be used within the players in that level. You navigate between levels by selecting where you want to go in the player window. When you select the subgroup where the players are hosted, you'll notice all the windows in the Content Manager are synchronized. The Content, Playlist, and Scheduling Grid all show the same level. When you click on any level above where you currently are, or on the root level itself, the content library switches to the level you clicked, while the other windows remain on the previous level. This is so you can drag content from an upper level into lower level playlists. You can also navigate levels by clicking on the breadcrumbs at the top of the content and playlist windows. Each content library starts out with a root folder called Media and Template. This folder can contain content and subfolders. To create subfolders, right-click on the left Media and Template header and select Add Folder. Next, name your folder and then save it. Content can be moved between folders by drag and drop. You can also copy and paste items by right-clicking on the content and then selecting Copy. Next, click on the destination, right-click, and select Paste. This will create a duplicate copy and add the suffix copy at the end of the content's name. You can duplicate any content, including templates. If you'd rather move your content, you should use cut and paste. Right-click the item, select Cut, then click on the new location, right-click, and select Paste to move the item. You can copy or move content between levels as needed. To delete an item, right-click it and select Remove. Note, this step can't be undone. You can use folders to organize your content by type, by project name, or any other criteria of your choice. In this example, we'll create a folder for images. One for videos, and another one for templates. To upload media files to any folder, select the folder, right-click, and select Add Media. Then, choose the file or multiple files you wish to upload from your local PC. Next, click Upload Files to begin the upload. When the process is finished, thumbnails will be created for each item you added. You can upload images, videos, and Flash Swift files. Each type of content has its own characteristics. For example, images are set to a duration of 7 seconds by default. The length of your videos is automatically detected by the software, and while the length of Flash files is detected, we recommend verifying the duration and adjust if needed. One quick word about Swift files. While Adobe Flash content is still supported on Windows PCs, it hasn't been supported on Android devices for many years. We recommend switching to HTML5 content instead for better performance. Now, it's important to know QL will let you play HTML and HTML5 content directly from a URL. But you can also upload this content to the server so all the assets are stored on each player. To do so, zip the HTML files and include the JPEGs, PNGs, XML, and any other required asset. Then, upload your zip file using the same steps as any other media. The server will unzip the file and create a thumbnail for the content. Let's take a quick tour of the media properties. To access the properties, double-click any thumbnail in the content library or in a playlist. You can also access the media properties by right-clicking on the item and selecting Edit. In this example, we'll look at the video properties. By default, Content Manager will use the file name as the content name. You can edit or completely overwrite the name by clicking in its field. The General table is where you will find information about your content. This includes content duration, type, size, and dimensions. Videos also display the total bit rate and the number of frames per second in the file. Note, these fields can't be edited. They're strictly for your information, except for the Enabled checkbox. This checkbox is selected by default for all users who don't require content approval. These users can deselect the box to disable the content, meaning it will no longer be played even if it appears in a scheduled playlist. Disabled items are easy to identify. They appear grayed out in the content library and in your playlists. The Media Preview window lets you play your content, and you can even play videos full screen. You can also adjust the sound of the content that you preview. Under this window, you will find the Update Media link. You use this feature to swap out the media file associated with the content. This is great for updating a video after it's been edited. QL tracks who created and edited the content in each library. The person's name and the edit's date and time appear under the preview window. Clicking the right arrow brings you to the next page. This is where you will find the playback options. These options will change depending on the type of content you're working with. For example, images can be assigned one of several transition effects. You can also trim videos by selecting the first and last frame to play. Every type of supported content can be cropped in QL. Simply enter the cropping box coordinates and dimensions in pixels. The X value represents the distance from the left side of the screen. Y represents the distance from the top. Height and width refer to the dimensions of the cropped image, video, or web page. The Hide Ticker box is deselected by default. You select this option if you plan to show ticker overlays and wish to remove the ticker until this content is finished playing. An icon depicting a screen with a red X will appear right of the content's thumbnail when the ticker is deactivated. We'll discuss the Ticker Designer feature in more detail in another video. When selected, the Mute option turns the sound off for this content. Muted content will show a speaker icon with a red X to the right of the content's thumbnail. We'll skip the tag feature for now and move on to content validity. By default, all media uploaded to the content library is deemed to be valid. This means the content will play unrestricted. If you add this content to a currently scheduled playlist and publish an update, the content will start playing right away. The validity option lets you set playback rules to ensure content added to a playlist can only be shown on screen for a specific number of days, on specific days, or at specific times. Here are some examples. Let's say you have a recurring event or announcement you want to display on the first week of every month. You would create 12 validity periods, specifying the start date and end date for each period. You add this content to a playlist which you schedule for the entire year and publish an update to your players. From this day, the content will follow the validity settings. Here's another example. You want to show an ad on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings. You create a validity period for a given number of days. Let's say January 1st to July 1st. Then, you click the Edit button to open the advanced settings. Deselect the Week checkbox and select the days you want the content to be shown. Set the start time to 6 p.m. and end time to 11 p.m. Once you save these settings, the content can only be shown on the days and times you selected. Remember that the validity is a rule that determines when the content can be shown, but you still have to add the content to a scheduled playlist. Otherwise, it won't play at all. Content validity is indicated by a small icon next to the content's thumbnail, and the icon will change to indicate the status. Content that is not yet valid shows a black clock icon with a red X at the bottom. Valid content shows a black clock icon. Expired content shows a red clock icon with an X. Note that expired content won't be shown again unless you delete all the expired validity periods or you extend the validity end date into the future. Clicking the right arrow brings you to the last page. QL features a powerful search engine. You can search for content based on their full or partial name, the content type like JPEG or MOV, by tag, and by keywords. To add keywords, simply click in the empty field and type the keywords, leaving a space between them. These will be used in your next content search. Some content requires external files to be present in order to display properly. It's the case for many Swift files that require external assets, mainly JPEG, PNG, and XML files. This is where you would use attachments. To add external files, click Upload Files, and then select all the files that are required so your content can play properly. The advertising section is where you can type in descriptive metadata such as customer name or an advertising reference. Say the customer is Coca-Cola and the reference is Winter Campaign. This information will be picked up in your analytical reports where it can be used to filter results. The content library can hold more than just files. You can add links to web pages and streaming videos. To add these items, select a folder and then right-click and select Add URL or Add Video Stream. When the window opens, type a descriptive name for the new content and enter the URL in the field below. You can copy and paste the URL from your existing browser or type the URL in the field. Note that the HTTP prefix is already entered, so you will need to edit it if you plan to display a web page that uses HTTPS. The default duration for URL and streaming videos is 15 seconds. You must change this value to show this content for a longer period. Next, click Save to confirm your changes and return to the default window. This concludes our video on the content library. Be sure to visit www.navori.com for more information.